My name is Shayla Rexrode. I am one of the education partnership managers with Discovery Education, and I have the honor of working and supporting schools, school districts, private, charter, public, across the board in the state of North Carolina. I am also a former classroom teacher out of Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools and taught there for several years, but also moved into central office. So whenever I kind of think through Discovery Education and Discovery Streaming Plus, which is what you have access to, and in preparation for offering this session, I've tried to put myself back in your shoes to think about what information would I have gravitated towards the most? What could have been those initial nuggets of information that I could immediately go back and use in my classroom that would really give me that foundation I would need in order to feel comfortable utilizing something like the Streaming Plus service? I will be the first one to tell you there are so many different doors that we could open within Streaming Plus. It honestly could take me 6 hours to take you through every door, and I don't want to do that in this first session. But what I really want to do, again, is reiterate, I want to give you maybe 3 buckets, kind of what I call them, of things that if I were to go back into the classroom tomorrow, I truly don't think I could teach without them. They would be my lifeline on a daily basis. So the 3 things that we're going to take a look at are what we call the Spotlight on Strategies. These were introduced into the service about 2.5 years ago, and they have really taken off. They support literacy, so they're absolutely amazing. So we're going to take a look at the SOS strategies. Then we are going to take a look at some ways to start searching for resources within Discovery Streaming. There's currently, you have access to about 200,000 different digital resources. So obviously I can't take you into every resource, but I'm going to give you a frame of reference of some good tricks and tips for how to get yourself started searching and kind of processing what's in there. And then we'll round it out with Board Builder. Board Builder is another relatively new resource that we introduced. I think we're in our 3rd year now with Board Builder. And it's really a space for you to create what we call kind of digital bulletin boards. It's a space for you to bring all these amazing resources together for your students. But what's also great is that when your students log in, they also are going to have access to Board Builder. So eventually, the goal would be that you're using it to introduce topics, maybe set up stations, centers, however you structure your classroom, but that eventually your students will evolve into using it as a platform for them to create and share back with you some of the digital artifacts and things that they find and explore and learn about. So that's kind of those 3 buckets that we're going to tap into. I am also going to show you where you can find some additional resources to carry on with your own professional learning, so some printable guides, online tutorials. So I know that this session is being recorded, which is great because you'll be able to go back, rewind it, fast forward it, pause it to be able to practice and apply. But I also want to make sure you know where there's other resources so that when you're ready to go even deeper into the service, you'll know where to go to get some additional support. So what I want to do first is right now, when you first log into Discovery Streaming Plus, this is what the main landing screen is going to look like. This main bar along the top, this will constantly change and evolve. And it kind of changes depending on what's happening that particular day, that particular week. So right up here is where you'll see things like right here with Hispanic Heritage Month. And if you hit the See More, it's going to take you into a wealth of different resources. It'll take you out to our blog of things that we're putting together in order to support that initiative. But this may also, on a given day, feature a virtual field trip. It may feature a new resource. It could feature another event happening. I would venture to say in the next week or 2, this is pretty much going to evolve around election information. There's already a ton in there, but this is where our team, our curriculum development teams really try to draw out and better support you with things that you might be doing in the classroom. As you scroll further down, my screen looks a little different because I'm showing several different things, but you will see your link for Streaming Plus, which again just takes you in to be able to start searching. And as you come further down, you're going to see things, additional resources, again, some of those virtual field trips that are coming up, some of the new lesson plans that we may have created and put out there. You're also going to see our global news over here to the right. The global news is absolutely amazing if you're really looking to tap into current events. What we did is a couple of years ago, based upon requests from superintendents, CAOs, is they really wanted their teachers to tackle current events as it kind of fed in and related to their STEM initiatives. And so we contracted with the BBC out of the UK because they're known to be one of the most unbiased news reporters in the world. And every Wednesday, we produce and post a brand new global news. If you look up here in this little top right-hand corner, you're going to see that you have the opportunity to toggle between grade levels because we absolutely recognize what you may show to secondary students would not be the same thing that you may want to show to younger audiences. So right now, I have the K-5 version selected. And this is, for lack of a better sense, it's going to paint a beautiful picture of the world. It is that utopia society. So here, I'll go into the one that was posted last week to give you an idea. It's going to be broken out. And here's one where they're talking about drones. So again, relatively safe topic, but still something that is being talked a lot about, people are taking a look at. But then if I come back and I go into the 612 version, which again, even though we're saying it's appropriate for grades 6 through 12, I mean, I have fourth grade teachers that love them. I have fifth grade teachers that love them. Our biggest recommendation is that take a look at it, review it, watch it, because what we do with the BBC is they actually bring in real news footage. So we're not trying to make it, to water it down. We really want students to understand what's happening around the world. However, it is written at a middle grade level, and it is typically narrated by a middle grade student. And again, that's in order to build that rapport and connection with the students. But again, it's totally your judgment call of what grade level you choose to use it with. And you may only choose a particular segment. So with last week's Global Wrap, you'll see that the entire video was 4 minutes, 11 seconds. But then over here, I'm able to see the breakdown of the various segments within that Global Wrap. So, you know, for whatever, if you were talking about weather at that particular time, well, the one on Haiti and Hurricane Matthew might be a great one in order to look at and build those connections with what they're learning about in weather and real-world impacts. If you're doing a big initiative right now around the election, you're going to see information about the vice presidential debate that went on. Again, kind of looking through, you'll see where the commuter train crashed in New Jersey. But this is real video footage from news stations where we're talking about it. So again, just kind of air of caution to watch it and review it before you show it to your students. But you also have the luxury of kind of picking and choosing segments that you want to be able to focus on. The other wonderful thing about Discovery Streaming is we recognize that you may be talking about weather in 2 weeks, but you still want to be able to highlight the recent coverage of Hurricane Matthew. But this particular week might not be that great time to do it. So if you come over here beside every single resource in Discovery Education, you have the ability to select this little drop-down menu, and you can always add a particular segment into an area called My Content. And I'm going to scroll up just a little bit back up to the screen. Here is your My Content area. Think of the My Content area as your digital filing cabinet. It's a space for you to save and sort anything from the world of Discovery. You can also bring in things from outside the world of Discovery, but it's a space for you to really, kind of like a cloud-based space, for you just to collect and have this repository of great resources. So if I were to choose Add to My Content, it's going to open up, so you're seeing My Content, because it's my screen, it's my login. And I may come down and go, ooh, I don't have a folder yet on weather. So I'm going to come over here and hit Add Folder, and I'm going to name this one Weather. I'm going to say, yes, this is the folder I want to create. And it automatically alphabetizes it, so you'll have to kind of come back and find where it is. And I'm going to say, yes, I want to add that segment to my folder entitled Weather, because I'm going to come back at a later time and be able to watch it with my students. If I come back up to where I initially showed you the My Content area lives, and I select that link, you're seeing that same screenshot of my content. I'm going to come down to my folder entitled Weather, and there it is. So it's ready for me to play when I'm ready to be able to show it to my students. I can also still come over here. I can move, copy it. I can, at that point, decide if I want to assign it to my student. Lindsay will be working with you on getting all of your students uploaded. She'll be able to talk to you about how they can get logged in. But here I can set a date that I want it to go into their login. So you may be saying, okay, well, I'm going to start weather on the 24th. So I want it to go into their inbox on the 24th, and we are going to study it the entire week of the 24th. And then you'll see your different classes, and I can say, I want Michelle and Rob both to receive this. So now when Michelle and Rob log into their computers on October 24th, they are going to see a link to this video. And then I'll also show you with Board Builder where you can also create those assignments that you want them to do along with this great digital resource. So just a wealth of wonderful things that you're going to be able to do within the service. Right now I'm in the My Content area. Anytime you want to get back to that main landing screen, you can either come right here to the My DE, which is Discovery Education Home, or you can choose the Discovery Education icon at the top, and it will bring you right back to this main landing screen. So again, I scroll down just a little bit in order to explore the global news, which is through this caret, I can do the K-5 version or the 612 version. You can continue to scroll down. There's a wealth of additional things. We have an amazing team that do a great job of posting things on Twitter, Facebook. We would love for you to follow us. Information on how to do all of that is down here, as well as I mentioned, to be able to look at some of our previous virtual field trips that we hosted, as well as upcoming virtual field trips contests. We are affiliated with Discovery Communications, which a lot of you probably know as Discovery Channel. We own about 14 networks in the United States. And because of that affiliation, it really opens us up to have conversations with some pretty amazing organizations. Sometimes we approach them, sometimes they approach us, where they really want to be more involved in education and to open their doors to students to learn and understand the things that are happening in their environment. So we are constantly working with them on hosting contests, grants, the virtual field trips, all kinds of great things. You can always explore and find those below here as well. So that's kind of a really quick overview of the main landing screen. Again, this is really an area that I feel like is probably best served with you just sitting and kind of clicking and exploring. But what I want to do right now is to jump into what we call the SOS strategies, or the Spotlight on Strategies. In order to access these, I'm going to bring you to this hyperlink along the top. This is a brand new space for us called the Professional Learning Space. We launched this site over the summer in late June, early July, and we designed it specifically for you as classroom teachers. This entire link is to provide you with a wealth of different resources to support you with everyday instruction in your classroom, events or experiences you want your students to have, but also professional learning opportunities. So the first one that we're going to take a look at is right here, called Strategies and Resources. And when you select it, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. You're going to see an area right here identified as Spotlight on Strategy. We introduced the Spotlight on Strategies, as I mentioned, it was probably about 2.5 years ago. And it was really in an effort to support a lot of the emphasis around literacy that was being introduced through Common Core, through all of the different literacy and reading initiatives. But we wanted to take a little bit of a different approach and think about literacy more on a global scale. So what you're going to see with the Spotlight on Strategies is that they are categorized by the literacy strand that they support, but they are not categorized by a specific grade level or specific content area, because we firmly believe literacy is interwoven across every content area, every grade level. But we recognize that sometimes it is a challenge for somebody maybe teaching specific math courses or specific science courses or whatever it might be, or foreign language or art or music, to really stop and think about, okay, how can I effectively infuse literacy into my everyday content without it not looking like the ugly stepchild, like you just kind of wedged it in there. So that's the beauty of the Spotlight on Strategies. You're going to notice they have some really creative titles, and that's also to engage the students in what that particular strategy might be. But the strategies are not designed to be your entire lesson. I've seen teachers use the strategies to jumpstart a new unit or concept. I've seen them use them for formative assessment throughout a lesson or throughout the course of a unit to just quickly gauge where the students are with their understanding. And then I've also seen teachers use it as exit tickets. So as the students are wrapping up with that content and transitioning, if it's, they're changing between classes, they do a strategy as they're heading out of the room, and they did it kind of as an exit ticket. Lots of different ways to be able to explore them. We currently have, and I say currently, last count was about 160 SOS strategies. And I say that with kind of an air of, because our development team is constantly creating new ones and uploading them into the system. So what you're seeing right here is only a snapshot of what we have available. You'll see in the bottom right-hand corner of each one is a hyperlink that if I was really working on citing evidence, I can choose to view all. And here's where I can see all of the current strategies that support citing evidence. So again, we're only sharing with you a very small snapshot of what is available and out there. If I had to share with you like one or two of my top favorite strategies, some of the ones that are really effective and your students will pick up on really quickly, the first one I would probably share is AEIOU. Historically, we think of AEIOU as, the vowel sounds. Ironically, this has nothing to do with the vowel sounds. But the reason we show it is because it does serve as an acronym, but it's also something that students easily remember. So that's the other part with the strategies, is we wanted to create something where at any point in time, you could very quickly say to your students, all right, let's AEIOU. Or, you know what? I'm kind of feeling like a little tweet, and they'll know exactly what you're talking about, and you'll be able to effectively introduce it and get through the strategy. The strategies are designed to take anywhere from 15 to a maximum of about 30, 35 minutes. But again, you can utilize them any way that you see appropriate. So with every single strategy, when you log in, you're initially going to be greeted by a video. This is a video of one of our DEN stars, our Discovery Educator Network stars. They are all classroom teachers. This is them introducing the strategy. So they are teaching you how they would potentially use it in their own classroom. So, again, if you're a very visual, auditory learner, the videos are going to hit the bar for you. However, if you scroll down a little bit further, you can also see a PDF version of the strategy. Every single strategy, we start with that big idea of what is the research, what is the theory behind or the pedagogy behind this particular strategy. Discovery doesn't just haphazardly throw something out there and wait to see if it sticks and if it works. We are very embedded in the research and strategies that we know have a proven record of effectiveness. You're also going to see below that the steps of how to introduce it. Here you're going to notice that under materials, for this particular one, we're saying choose a video segment. Imagine this space on every single strategy being blank. We're just simply telling you as a suggestion to use a video segment. One of the things that I love about the SOS strategies is that you could use the Spotlight on Strategies with absolutely everything. I could do this AEIOU strategy by reading a passage aloud to my students. I could give them a written passage to read. It could be an image that I show them. It could be a video segment. It could be a song. It could be the lyrics to a song. So not everything has to always be digital. We at Discovery are the first ones to say there is still absolutely a time and a place for print materials and to bring that rich literature into the classroom. But again, we also know the value of digital. So finding that good balance between the two is really the key to the success of the SOS strategies. For this particular one, they are saying use a video segment. But with this strategy, the AEIOU is to really provide purpose for your students as they are watching the video segment or as they are listening to you read a reading passage. It's, all right, what do you want them to focus on? So rather than the traditional giving them 3 questions to be able to answer or, as they hear something in the video, to stop and clap their hands and you talk about it. This is just another way to engage them with content. So here, as they are watching the video, the A is for adjective, for them to list a word or two that describes something they saw or learned. E, how a particular part made them feel, an emotion. I, something they found interesting. O, something that caused them to say, oh, or oh. And the U, something they would like to learn or want to learn more about. The U is probably my personal favorite because I think it really starts to instill in them that lifetime love of learning. But it also helps to reinforce with them that as a classroom teacher, you are not the keeper of all information. That it is really important for them to understand how to frame a question, how to really wrap their heads around what else they would want to learn about, and then to start to think about, well, how could you go about learning it? Because I think that's a really critical part of being an effective teacher is to instill those skills and that mindset with our students. So this is a really great one. It will tell you that depending on the length of the video segment or the age of the learners, you may pause periodically for them to jot down some of their ideas around the AEIOU, and that's to allow them to fully focus on the video segment while it's playing and not trying to write and potentially miss something. A way that I have collected my students' AEIOU, sometimes it's just a verbal conversation of, who wants to share out or turn to a partner and share your A, your I, your U. But also introducing things like Padlet. Padlet is a free resource. It's absolutely amazing. It has nothing to do with discovery, but it's a resource that we use all the time in our professional development. But to have a Padlet open and ready to go, AEIOU on the Padlet. I've also seen where teachers have flip charts around the room, and they'll have the flip chart labeled, one with AEIOU, and the student takes sticky notes and they write their AEIOU and they walk around and post them on the flip charts, and then you do a gallery walk for the students to walk around and see and maybe post comments about another student's AEIOU. So lots of different ways that you can go about gathering the information. But again, with this particular strategy, they're really thinking through their writing. For some students, just getting them to write an adjective or just getting them to write a question can be a big hurdle. It can be a big stepping stone of how they think about writing and how they look at literacy. So again, this is one of my personal favorites. Once you do it once, maybe twice with your students, they'll totally capture it, they'll remember it, and it's a fun one to be able to introduce. So rather than just hitting my back button, I'm going to walk you through one more time how I found the SOS strategies. So I came through the professional learning link. From here, I went under strategies and resources. I scroll down a little bit, and there is the link for the SOS, the Spotlight on Strategies. And here are all the various ones. Some of these you may see and go, I've kind of done 3 truths and a lie before. Yep, but look at it because sometimes we put a little bit of a twist on it. Another really popular one is 6-word story. The one thing that I stress if you're going to use 6-word story is that you hold your students to the 6 words. So sometimes I'll see teachers, I'll go into classrooms, they're like, let them do 5 words or let them do 7. Nope. The impact and the full challenge is for them to nail down 6 highly effective words that create that story. So here is just a quick example. We always give an example towards the end. There's an image that the teacher displayed, and the students came up with some of these 6-word stories. To the streets, speak our minds. People are poor, speech is free. Wall Street, greed breeds people's anger. So the biggest thing I stress about this one is you kind of have to step out of your role of complete sentences, things being grammatically correct, and really focus on the choice of words, the sequencing of the words. of how they put their thoughts together. This is one I've seen kindergartners be highly effective with all the way up through high school. In some instances, I've had high school teachers come back to me and tell me they've had some of the most profound conversations, profound statements come out of this one quick strategy, because sometimes it really draws out some opinions, some ideas from students that otherwise stay hidden. Because it's 6 words. How do you effectively communicate with just 6 words? So again, just another great strategy, one that I personally love, but again, I tend to love all of them. When you decide to start taking a look at the SOS strategies, my advice is identify 2, possibly 3, and become really great at them. Use them several times with your students, allow them to really master the strategy versus maybe introducing a new one every week or a new one every other day. Because then what starts to happen is your students become more focused on learning the strategy than really the concept that you're trying to achieve or the objective that you're trying to master through the strategy. So once they've mastered a strategy, then they can really start to get at the heart of what you're trying to do with it. Once they've become really well versed with 2 or 3, then you can subtly start to introduce another one. But again, they are here for you to kind of explore and take a look at, but they're just an amazing resource that I've absolutely grown to love. I'm going to bring you back into the professional learning site because there's one other resource out here that I want to tap into. So we were under strategies and resources in order to explore the SOS strategies. Now we're going to migrate over here into the Learn and Lead. When we launch into the Learn and Lead portion, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You're going to see several different resources that appear. You're going to see step-by-step guides, interactive modules, and new teacher essentials. Even further down below this, you're going to see DE in action. These are inside looks into classrooms of teachers utilizing some of our resources. You'll also find a professional learning toolkit, which is great for just if you ever get asked to lead a session on something from Discovery Ed, there's resources in here. If I take a look at the interactive modules, each of the modules, I would say on average, are designed to take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And that is if you sit down and work through it in a straight amount of time. The wonderful thing about the modules, you can pause them, log out, log back in. It will start you back where you last ended. But you're going to notice these start off with the nuts and bolts of Discovery streaming. So again, if after this session you want to take a deeper dive into things, or there are specific things that I don't have time to get to today, like the student experience, you can go in and take a look at those. We're going to get to Board Builder in just a little bit, but here's 50 different ways to think about using Board Builder. Once you've kind of mastered the foundation of Discovery streaming, you're going to notice that the interactive modules migrate more into instructional strategies. Those literacy strands, how to utilize digital content with ELL learners, with UDL, flipping the classroom. This is Lodge McCammon. He is based out of the Raleigh, North Carolina area. We do a ton of work with Lodge. He is nationally known for his work in the flipped classroom. He does a lot of songwriting for education, which we feature a lot of that in our resource. And then you'll get more specifically into some of our other resources. But these are absolutely wonderful. I personally have sat down and gone through every single one of these modules. I love them. At the conclusion of each module, there is the option to take a quiz. If you pass the quiz, a link will open up for you to be able to print a certificate. So that might be something that you work with Lindsay on as to whether or not you want to work towards maybe mastering or achieving these, or even watching one and then offering to do a session on some of the key learnings that you took away from it. I've seen schools utilize these lots of different ways, but they're here. I wanted to make sure you were aware of them. Because again, I don't want you to feel like this particular session is designed to show you everything in the world of Discovery. I'm also a big believer in just you having the opportunity to explore at your own pace in a lot of different formats. But you also have the step-by-step guide. So if you're not one to want to sit down and go through all the modules, you just kind of want a step-by-step. Here are all of these. They, again, follow the same module, and you can print these out as well. And these are really just to kind of get you started with the Discovery streaming services. I'll bring you back out here. So all of this is housed under the professional learning site. So now what I'm going to do is transition into searching for resources and content within the world of discovery. So you find that great strategy, you decide that you want to tackle the AEIU, and then it becomes the feat of, okay, well, how am I going to choose or select or find that digital resource that I maybe want to use? I can always come up here to this search bar, and it's very similar to a URL where you can type in a topic and hit search, and it's going to populate everything that we offer relating to sharks. So right here, I can look very quickly and see that I have 731 results that populated. And of those 731 results, they are broken out as full videos, boards that people have created through Board Builder, images, audio files, text, meaning reading passages, encyclopedia articles, any types of interactives, and lesson materials for you as the teacher. I can also narrow my search by grade band. So lots of different ways that you can filter and to be able to find some of the things that you're looking for. So I may be 3-5, I may choose images, and that brings me down to 31 results just by selecting those two features. Then over here, again, I can decide, how recent, based on copyright I want them to be. Lots of different things that I can do. As I showed you earlier, here's that drop-down menu where I can save them into my content. I can assign this image out to my students. I can really use it a lot of different ways. But the other thing that I want to highlight is, again, something relatively new that we've introduced into the service. We're constantly looking at new, effective ways that we can support you in the classroom, is we've also started to introduce these areas. You see this one right up here at the top called content collection. What we initially did is we took the top 100 most searched topics in the history of discovery, and our team sat down and kind of put together these collections based on those terms, those search terms. They are in the process right now of working on the next bundle of 100, and they'll continue to kind of build down from there. So again, similar to the SOS, we're constantly adding, constantly updating, putting things out there. When you see a content collection pop up, they are well worth exploring. Because right here, if I come under View Content and Lesson Starters, I am going to see that it's broken out by K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. For the K5 resources, there's a lesson starter, which is a PDF that just gives you different ideas of how you might utilize some of the digital resources in your classroom. The other thing I love is that we feature an SOS strategy. So this might be a way to introduce yourself to a new strategy you otherwise would not have explored, but we're also saying this is a really great one for introducing a topic on sharks. If I come under 6-8, here's again, same structure along the top. It gives me a different set of lesson starters, but the same spotlight on strategy is consistent K-12 because, again, the strategies are really modified and adapted depending on your learning audience. As I come further down, I'm going to see a collection of different resources. So again, from our earlier search of it populating 731 different things, that this is not even close to everything that's available. What we've done is we're trying to just show you a collection of different types of digital resources that might be available for you to be able to explore. So you can see right here, there's video segments. We've pulled out some images. This is the most searched image in the history of discovery. Everybody loves our great white shark with its mouth opening. As you come further down, you'll see some other video segments. You'll see a song that's available. So again, we're just trying to help you to narrow your search a little bit if you initially get a little overwhelmed by there being 731 different things for you to be able to choose from. So again, you can type in a variety of different topics, and you can always look to see if a content collection appears. This is one that I was recently asked about, but I haven't looked to see if we have a content. So this particular one with Force in Motion, we don't have a content collection created for. So you'll see this screen, it becomes blank along the top. But then if I went in and looked for something like biomes and habitats, I have a content collection there. A quick, easy way to be able to search and locate all of the content collections is if you come under Advanced Search. So this is just a way in order to get more specific with things that you're looking for. If in this keyword area you type content collection or collections, it doesn't matter, singular or plural, they will all populate and appear. So you can see we've got one on the Magic School Bus, autumn, which is, like great time of year to transition into that. The one that we were just focusing on our main landing screen was Hispanic month. You'll see the rock cycle. So again, it's just a quick, easy way for you to be able to walk through and see all of the content collections that are populated. So again, I went under the advanced search feature, and that allowed me to be able to see the content collection. And I typed it in right here. I love the content collection. Again, there's not one for every single topic. We are working on it, but it's definitely worth, when you first search for something, just to look along that top screen to see if there's a collection that's available. Right. The next thing that I'm going to transition into is Board Builder. The reason I want to introduce Board Builder at this phase is by this point, you are hopefully sitting there thinking, wow, there's a lot in Discovery Education. Maybe if you've worked in the past, you can see how we've grown and evolved. For those of you who have never worked in Discovery Education, you might be thinking, where do I even start? How do I pull this all together? It just seems like there's so much information, so many different digital resources. The reason I love Board Builder is because it really pulls it all together for you. So in order to locate Board Builder, you're going to come right here into this area called Builder Tools. You're going to see several different tools that appear under your drop-down, but the one that we are going to explore is right here called Board Builder. As I mentioned earlier, we introduced this, I think we're in our third year, it might be about 3.5 years, and we really introduced it based on requests from classroom teachers who said, I always have these great, amazing resources. I'm constantly trying to put them into PowerPoint or Keynote or onto my Google Docs, and it's so time consuming. I wish there was just an easier way for me to load all of these into one space to be able to share out with my students that's also visually appealing to them. So we decided to create something called Board Builder. When you first launch Board Builder, you're going to see you can start with a totally blank slate, or you can choose one of our pre-existing templates, and then it kind of serves as a wizard. It kind of walks you through getting yourself set up. Over here is that 50 ways to use Board Builder. You saw that on the learning site as well. But if you come down, this is where I am able to see any of the boards that I have created, any that I've opened and saved, any that I'm currently working on. So what I'm going to do before we jump into actually looking at how to build one, I want to first show you an example of a finished board. So I'm going to start with one, and this one I would venture to say is maybe 5th, 6th grade. It was created by 2 students. So again, that's the beauty of Board Builders, that students can also explore and take a dive into it. But what's great about this one is that I don't know these students. I don't know this teacher. I have no idea what their actual assignment was, but I can take a pretty good guess by the way that they structured their board. I can see that they have their title. Just from this little brief text area over here, I'm guessing that they are proving or disproving the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere and whether or not Longfellow's version is accurate. So they pulled in an image from Discovery Education. It is a hyperlink, which could take me in to enlarge that picture and look at it in more detail. They've added this text box. But then they get really creative. And when they are asked to kind of think about, well, what really did happen, rather than just typing it up or doing a traditional tripod, type of report, they actually use a resource called Blaberize, which is another free resource, not from Discovery Ed, but one that we use on a regular basis. I'll open this, and I'm not sure how well it will play through the recording. I'll take it full screen just so you can see it.
I wanted to take this and share with
But with Glaberize, you can take any image and essentially make it talk, which can be a lot of fun, but also extremely creative for students. So they actually stepped into first person. They became Paul Revere. They had to, write out their script, really think through and do the research behind it. Here they gave kind of a synopsis of what they were going to do. They didn't write out their entire script, but they really allowed the learning to happen through Glaberize, which would be very exciting for a group of students. They came further down and they used the paper slide video concept in order to talk through their what, when, and why. So again, I don't know how well you can hear the volume through the WebEx, but with the paper slide concept, they took a phone, they took a computer, anything that has a recorder, they drew out their images. Again, they had to really think through what it is that they were going to say, but the idea is that the images and their narration is really what's guiding the conversation. And they literally just kind of slide them in and out as they're talking through them. So you're probably starting to realize that with Board Builder, you can bring in resources from outside the world of discovery. And I'll show you in just a minute how you can upload them. So students can bring in external digital resources that they find, or in this situation, ones that they create themselves. I've seen students and teachers make their own music videos, record their own songs. Really, the possibilities are endless with Board Builder, and that's how we wanted to create it. Is we didn't want to create this silo of certain ways that you could only use it. We really wanted to allow students to be as creative as they wanted to be in that digital platform. As you come further down, you'll see they uploaded a document. They cited their evidence. I would venture to say these were their pictures that their teacher obviously took down for FERPA and privacy acts so that we don't actually see the students themselves. But just a great example of what Board Builder can be used for. So in order to utilize something like Board Builder, I am first going to go in and find some resources. So I'm going to go back to that content collection that I saw that was out there for autumn, because with it being fall and autumn approaching, the leaves are starting to change. I maybe want to put together a board for my students that really focuses on the changing of the season. So I'm going to start with the content collection, just help me gather some resources. Again, you're not bound to stick with these. But I might say, ooh, I really like this image. I want to use this image just to get them talking about what they see, what really happens when autumn approaches with the changing of the season. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of saving it to my content, I'm actually going to drop it into an area called the quick list. You'll see the quick list located down here. So I came in the bottom left-hand corner. Right now you can see that I have 9 items living out here in my content. In my quick list. I really recommend if you get over 25-ish items, it's not really a quick list anymore. It just becomes a list, because the idea is for you to very quickly be able to scroll through and find what it is you're looking for. So whenever I choose this plus sign, I'm going to notice that this number down here changes from 9 to 10, and it's going to load this image right here into my quick list. At any point, if there's something you no longer want in your quick list, you just come down here and hit the X, and it will remove it straight out of your quick list. So again, just a quick, easy way that you can clean it up. But I've added this image. I come further down, and I also want to add that image. We're definitely going to be talking about what's happening, the rotation. So I'm going to add this one. And then maybe I want to add this video segment. I can also come in here and go, ooh, this is a really good song. You'll notice that the drop-down menu is not there for this one. This one, the songs and some of the archives you have to open up. And a lot of that's because we also want you to be able to access any of the materials that are out here. But I might decide after listening to this, I also want them to listen to the song. So at this point, I have several different resources available for me to pull onto a board about autumn. So now I'm going to come back into Board Builder. I came under Builder Tools and Board Builder. I I am going to work from one of the pre-created templates just so you can get an idea of how they function. I am going to title what happened with changing season to autumn. Hit continue. It automatically prompts you to save it. So again, if you have not already created a folder, you can create one. I do recommend that you start a folder process for everything. Otherwise, your My Content fills up so quickly that you just can't find anything. So here I'm going to choose this folder. I'm going to save the resource into it. I'm going to select Save. And now I am in full editing mode. This function is very similar to any of the Microsoft Office programs where you simply tap in, you put your title. Over here, I can make my font larger. I can resize the box. It's pretty intuitive of how you want to work with it. Over here, I can change text styles, colors, font colors. You can really have a lot of fun with it. My advice to you as a teacher, as well as when you are allowing your students to start to work in Board Builder, and I say this from personal experience, first focus on getting everything onto your board that you need before you start going back and playing with things like the font colors and the styles and things like that, because after a while you'll find yourself completely consumed with changing up all the different font colors, and you kind of forget what the real focus is around the board. So here my topic is autumn. I could add underneath this my essential question. I'm going to move these down just a little bit because I'm going to come over here and under add item, I'm going to add a headline. Now by default, it adds everything to the bottom because that's where it thinks you have space and where you want to add it, but then you can just drag it up. I'm going to resize this one out a little bit. I'm going to have it fit right under here. And this is where I may say, what are the causes behind the changing of seasons? So maybe I want by the end for my students to have an understanding of what really causes seasons to change. And you might have a different objective, a different way of wording it. But then I get into adding some of those great resources. Again, you can move these around, you can reorder them, you can really be creative in how you manipulate the board. Again, we're just giving you a template to get yourself started. But I'm going to start by adding one of those images because I want to have the conversation around just visually what they see. So down here in my quick list, I'm going to go and find this great image, and I literally am going to drag and drop it. And that image appears. And then over here, I could have them A-E-I-O-U. I could have them list an adjective to describe what they see, an emotion of how they feel about autumn. Something that they find interesting about the seasons, something that makes them say, oh, and you, something they want to learn more about. So I could have this sitting over here and display that if I assign this board to the students and they're working through it on their own, if I have it up on the board and we're working through it as a class, the nice thing about board builders, they're seeing how everything that I'm bringing in connects. Instead of me jumping between the different resources or having 6 or 7 different hyperlinks along the top that I'm bouncing between, this allows for that fluency to happen, that flow to happen to where everything is coming back to this main topic. I could come further down and I might decide, you know what, I don't want another text box. I'm going to add another media box. And in this particular box, I am going to add this video segment. Now I also have the option to search. So I can search directly in Discovery Discovery Education. So if I didn't find items ahead of time and put them in my quick list, or if I know what the title of it is, I can come in and I can simply add them by choosing the Add button and hit Add Selected Resource, and I can do it that way. So I can have 2 videos sitting side by side. Here's where you can also upload from outside the world of Discovery. So I can bring in things, as you saw earlier with those students, where they created their own videos outside the world of Discovery. Here's all the different permitted file types. So I could come into my computer, I could find where that document is sitting, hit choose, and I'm not going to upload any of these right now. And then it'll upload and add it as a file. And actually, I'll add the Word document out here. I'm going to hit choose just so you can see. Hit start upload, and there it is. And now you'll see that there is that document. So you can also upload documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, anything like that that you want your students to be able to reference or that you want to be able to pull up as you explore Autumn. This board can continue to keep going and going and going and going. You'll see that you can continue to extend it to really whatever works best for you. So that is Board Builder. Again, Board Builder is one of those to just have fun, explore, take a look at. Now, the other thing that I'm going to take a look at is that I'm going to come back in and search for Autumn, because you'll notice earlier when we were looking at the different search features, one of them is boards. The other nice feature about Board Builder is that when a teacher or a student creates a board, the teacher has the ability to share that board out. Now, you can share it just within your school, or you can share it with the Discovery Ed community, and that's what all these people have done. I would say to date, we have a little over 2,000 boards that have been created and shared out. So my recommendation is before you start creating a brand new board, come out and take a look to see, has somebody else already created one that maybe you can use or that you can modify or change? So these particular ones that are popping up, you'll see they're titled Apples, but it's because in the description, at some point, the teacher referenced Autumn. So I might come out and take a look at this one. Again, I have no idea. Here it tells me that this is a teacher board. But here's one where the teacher's kind of gotten things started. I'm not sure they're doing something with the blanks. This is obviously younger age. They're looking at the cycle. They've got some documents. Well, as a classroom teacher, I may go, ooh, this is a really good start. So I'm going to save this into my content. I'm going to put this one into my Autumn folder. And now, when I come back into my content, and I come into my Autumn folder, there is that board on Apples. When I open it, let's see, you'll notice that my edit button appears. So now I can edit, I can modify this. So if I'm not really digging these being blank, I might come down and decide that of these things that I added earlier, I might want to switch it out and add, oh, there it goes, add that image. I'm going to drag this up. It didn't add it into that particular box, and that was my error because this is looking for document, and this was not a document, it's a file. So I might replace it with that image. So again, search and see if there's a board that's already been created that you might want to start with before you start from scratch, or you might be one of those that you learn better by creating some on your own and then figuring out how to go in and edit. But Board Builder is just an amazing resource. As I mentioned, there's over 2,000 that have been created, some by us, a majority by classroom teachers and students. When your students create a board, they do not have the ability to share that board except with you as the teacher. You as the teacher are the one that makes the decision as to whether or not other people have the opportunity to see it and view it and work with it. So I wanted to make sure I shared that out, that, you know, you're not going to have students haphazardly putting things out there that haven't been approved or incorrect, or there's grammatical errors. You always, as the teacher, have the ability to share out. The other nice thing about the student feature is that when students create a board, if they share it with you and then you decide to share it out with the Discovery Ed universe, if at any point the student opens that board again and they edit the board, as soon as they press the edit button, it comes out of sharing mode, so it is no longer available in the Discovery Ed community until you have reapproved it and you post it again. And that's simply to prevent a student from going in, making some changes that you haven't approved, and it being available for other people to be able to see. So again, just kind of one of those safeguards that we try to put in place to help you be more comfortable in allowing your students to share, because it really is a great feature and a resource that's out there. So for this particular session, this is where I'm going to stop. I know that was a lot of information to process. I'm going to come back and just really quickly kind of wrap up what we covered. We took a look at the global news, the global wrap, some of the upcoming events, activities, contests that are going on. We jumped into the professional learning link. From here, we were kind of able to come into strategies and resources. We took a look at the SOS strategies, which support literacy across the strands. We also came into Learn and Lead, which is where we found the step-by-step guides, the interactive modules, lots of different ways that we can explore the world of discovery. I'm going to bring you back to that main landing screen. We then started searching for some of those great content collections that exist by typing in search features. You can also narrow and filter your search by selecting these features. And then we wrapped up by taking a look at Board Builder and different ways that you can bring all these great resources together, either by loading things into your quick list and dragging and dropping them, searching for them through Discovery, or uploading them from your computer or places where you have other items stored. So I hope that this was helpful, that it gave you like those three big buckets of information in order for you to go back and start thinking about some of those introductory ways to bring some of these great, rich digital resources into your classroom. By any means, if you have any questions or you're looking for something additional from the world of discovery that I didn't explore today, you can certainly let Lindsay know, and she'll know how to get in touch with me. I'm happy to respond and send anything your way that I can help with. But I hope that you enjoy your ventures into discovery education, and thank you so much for the time.